And that leaves us with the reality that abortion kills a human child, and that means that it's always wrong in every case, no matter what. Today we have a first-timer on the Daily Cancellation. We'll be canceling the New Testament scholar, famous theologian, and Anglican bishop, N.T. Wright. Wright appeared on the YouTube channel Premier Unbelievable, where he spent several minutes grappling with the issue of abortion. And as a prominent Christian leader and teacher, you might think that he'd be able to handle this question pretty well and easily, but if you think that, then you obviously aren't very familiar with the current crop of Christian leaders and teachers. Wright did not handle it well or easily. Instead, he talked around the topic for a while before finally settling on the answer that abortion is okay in many circumstances. Watch.
When it's presented as you are killing, you are murdering an unborn child, I think we do have to be very, very careful. And I've had personal experience of this with a close family member where soon after the couple discovered that they were pregnant, or the wife was pregnant, then it also became apparent that the wife had been accidentally exposed to German measles, rubella. Now, as we know, that exposure to German measles can result in serious deformities in the womb, etc., etc. And the GP in that case, who was a devout Christian GP, said, we're going to do the tests, and if she has been exposed to rubella, if there's a threat of serious defamation or whatever, then we will recommend termination. And I remember my heart in my mouth when I heard that and thinking, do I really agree with that? But at the time, it was absolutely clear for the mental health, never mind anything else, of the mother and the potential father as well, that this was the way to go. In fact, all was well. The rubella had not actually done what it sometimes might do, and that child was born perfectly healthy and has grown up now, etc. This was a long time ago.
So that's the charming story that N.T. Wright begins with. A family member thought that her child might be disabled and had planned to kill the child, but it turns out that he wasn't disabled, so they allowed him to live. And Wright, a Christian, does not see any major moral problem here. And also note the excuse he gave for this would-be abortion. He said that it would have been the right thing to do for, never mind anything else, the mental health of the mother. Now, I said a minute ago that Wright had endorsed abortions in many circumstances, and some people will read the headlines about this story, about N.T. Wright's comments, and they'll say that I'm mischaracterizing him because he only endorsed abortions in cases of rape, incest, or where the health of the mother is at stake. And so to say that he endorsed it in many cases is wrong, I'll be told. Now, that still would not be a justifiable position, as we'll discuss, but it's important to note that for Wright and for most everybody else who talks about these health of the mother exceptions, health includes mental health. And considering that literally every abortion could be justified as a mental health intervention, he is indeed excusing many abortions, if not all of them. But let's listen to a little bit more of his comments.
Cases where it is about the mother's health versus the health of the child or whatever, and particularly that, as you cited, in cases of or in cases of incest, there may be a very, very strong argument for saying this ought never to have happened, and with sorrow, because we do not want to do this in principle, but with sorrow and a bit of shame, the best thing to do is as soon as possible to terminate this pregnancy. This is not something which we should welcome. It is not something which we should collude with. At the same time, there may be certain exceptions, of which severe deformity might be one, of which certainly incest and would be others. And in those cases, I would say the sooner the better, because at a certain point, and I am not medically qualified to say at what point I would draw a line, then this is a viable human being that should then be cherished. So the whole debate about the woman's rights, it's very difficult. It's very hard for a man to talk about this. And indeed, one of the problems has been, particularly in the Roman Catholic Church, when women, particularly, say, a girl who's been or who's had incest committed on her, then discovering that unmarried men from the Catholic hierarchy are telling her what she can and can't do. That's as people now say, the optics of that are pretty bad. That's part of the same system of male bullying, which we have to avoid like the plague.
So N.T. Wright is disqualified from ever being taken seriously about any theological or moral issue ever again. As a Christian, you really shouldn't buy his books or listen to him or consult him or take his advice at all, ever. You're free to do that, of course. I can't tell you what to do, but in my opinion, you would be making a mistake. Being a husband, father, and host of my own show means life never slows down. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and vegetables every day. It sounds miserable and time-consuming, and frankly, I just don't want to do all that. But with Balance of Nature fruits and veggies, there's never been a more convenient dietary supplement to ensure you get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables every day with 31 different whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Balance of Nature takes fruits and vegetables, they freeze-dry them, turn them into a powder, and then put them in a capsule. You take a fruit and vegetable capsule every day, and then your body knows what to do with them. Go to balanceofnature.com and use promo code Walsh for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Plus, get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Walsh. Because if a Christian, especially one who purports to be a leader in the faith, gets this issue this disastrously wrong, then he has discredited himself permanently. Abortion is one of the great moral issues of our time, if not the greatest. And all N.T. Wright can say is that abortion is sad, but he's okay with it if it helps the mother's mental health. And any man who says otherwise is engaged in male bullying. I mean, this is rhetoric from the gospel of Gloria Steinem, not the gospel of Jesus Christ. But perhaps the most grotesque thing that Wright says in his long, rambling, morally incoherent answer is that he isn't medically qualified to say when exactly a human is viable and, quote, should be cherished. Well, Mr. Wright, if you really feel that you are not qualified at all to speak on that subject, then why the hell are you speaking on the subject? If you truly don't know when precisely human life should be cherished, it seems that you have no basis to claim that abortion can be permissible in certain circumstances. By your own admission, as far as you know, the baby should actually be cherished and respected as a human life, even in those cases that you would say are exception. You have no idea. You just admitted that yourself. You're not qualified. But you should have some idea. I mean, you should be qualified to speak about when human life should be cherished because you are supposedly a Christian. You are indeed a scholar of the Bible, which means you should know that the Bible teaches that unborn babies are formed in the womb by God, that he knows us before we're born and even before we're conceived. You should know that God creates every human life from the moment of conception. Every human life is a distinct, unique creation by God. That should give you all the qualification you need to say that all unborn children must be cherished at all stages of pregnancy, without exception. I mean, there is no Christian argument for directly and intentionally killing a child that was created by God and sent into the world by his hand. In order to make that argument, you would have to claim that God makes some children with the intention that we will violently destroy them before they have a chance to be born. But that's not just an insane thing to suggest, it's also blasphemous. And it makes no sense logically. There are only two options when dealing with this issue. Either abortion is the murder of a human child or it isn't. And if it isn't, then there's no reason to put any restrictions on it. And there's no reason to say, as N.T. Wright says, that abortion is sad or shameful or that we should try to avoid it. I mean, Wright is trying to thread some kind of needle by supporting abortion in many cases, but also saying repeatedly that it's a sad and shameful thing. Well, why is it a sad and shameful thing? Why exactly? Abortion could only be morally permissible if it isn't destroying innocent human life. But if it isn't doing that, then what's sad or shameful about it? I mean, it's only sad and shameful if and because it destroys innocent human life. But if it does that, then it cannot possibly ever be morally permissible. If abortion kills a human child, it is always wrong. It is always evil. It is always immoral. There could no more be an acceptable reason to abort an unborn child than there could be to kill an 18-month-old baby. And these are the two options. Abortion kills a human child or it doesn't. But the latter option, that it doesn't kill a human child, is ruled out scripturally, as the Bible makes very clear that God makes us and imbues us with human dignity in the womb. It also is ruled out scientifically, as unborn babies fit every scientific requirement to count as living human beings. And it's ruled out logically, as an unborn child is in one stage of human development, which means that he must be a living human. It's not possible to be in a stage of human development and yet not be human. What other species could the child be? And that leaves us with the reality that abortion kills a human child, and that means that it's always wrong in every case, no matter what. That should not be difficult for a noted Bible scholar to figure out. And it certainly shouldn't be difficult for him to express. But there are a lot of Christian leaders who seem to struggle with this basic thing, and N.T. Wright is just one of them, and that is why he is today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.